Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from the Colonial Dungeon, this is the Court Martial Podcast! Introducing your host for this evening, he has a bald spot on the top of his head, and he weighs in tonight at a number you don't need to know. He is the Colonial Loudmouth, Sean McCord! And welcome to another Court Martial Podcast. I am, as always, your Colonial Champion, Sean McCarty, and we have got a lot to talk about this week. I know I say it every week, but it is still true each and every week that I bring you this edition of the Court Martial Podcast. Now, today we've got a fantastic match of the week, which I think I'm going to start with. If we get to it, we're going to get a good, fun little superstar spotlight. But we are going to, first and foremost, and we'll see how long this takes. I see how long this takes us, as I should say. Because if this takes a little too long, then we may not get to the other parts, because some of these things I want to give the justice that they deserve, and you deserve, for listening to the Court Martial Podcast week in and week out. I do really appreciate you doing this, especially while you're sitting at home wondering, what am I going to do? Oh, here's a great podcast. Let's spend some time there. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that. I mention it in the description each and every week. But with that said, we're going to start with our match of the week, because I really want to get this. I just watched it. It's fresh on my mind. It is WrestleMania season, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you don't need me telling you that to know that. And we're going to talk about the Mania card and what's going to happen for WrestleMania as far as this channel, and where you will be able to hear me talk about the Court Martial, or talk about the Court Martial Podcast. I will talk about the Court Martial Podcast, but that's not what I'm talking about. I will talk about WrestleMania 36, the 2-day event. And in the spirit of WrestleMania, I decided to take a go look back at one of the more interesting main events of all time at WrestleMania, which was WrestleMania 11. And I'm sure many of you already know what that one is, but in case you didn't, it is Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor, the football player. 1995 was a strange year for WWE, as they were about to change from one facet of their being to another with the Attitude Era. It was still in the middle of the new generation. Diesel got a lot of talk-throughs in this. He was referenced many times, because I'm pretty sure Diesel was the one who trained LT kayfabe-wise. First of all, let me mention that the fact that this match is going on after Undertaker and Diesel, that this match is main eventing the show, that is a ballsy move. And I know Hogan and Mr. T made it in the first WrestleMania, but you got to remember that was 3 wrestlers and 1 celebrity in a tag match where 3 wrestlers could handle the majority of the work, and Mr. T could get in his celeb shots when he did. This match was 18 minutes of a pro football player wrestling a wrestler one-on-one. This type of situation had never really, save for Kaufman and Lawler, had never really happened before this long. I mean, the Kaufman and Lawler match wasn't 18 minutes long. It wasn't a competitive match. Lawrence Taylor had a competitive match. And, for its time, this was a ballsy move by McMahon to put this match on last and to declare that Lawrence Taylor was the better of the best thing to put on the main event. Here's what I got out of this. Lawrence Taylor was going to work as well as Lawrence Taylor was going to work, right? I mean, it wasn't like he had been training for a year and then came on and, like, this isn't a Ronda Rousey deal. It wasn't good. This was meant to be a one-off. Well, what ended up happening in this match is it showcased just how good Bam Bam Bigelow is, because this match was hidden behind Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor was not that great, but Bam Bam was so good that he made Lawrence Taylor look good. Good enough to make this match actually incredibly enjoyable. I did have fun watching this match back and forth. They put on a great show. And I will give Lawrence Taylor credit too, because they took balls to do that match, main event that show, and perform the way that he performed. And I wasn't sure how much the crowd was into this match, because it was hard to tell which cheers were really cheers and which cheers were pumped crowd noise. Because I'm pretty sure that a lot of those pops sounded very, very similar. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Because this is WWE's tape. This was 1995. The fans were not coming to these shows. It was a rough draw time in WWE's history. You know, I'm not saying that was Kevin Nash's fault. Everyone says, oh, Kevin Nash was the lowest drawing champion in history. I don't think it was just Kevin Nash, truth be told. Because the numbers weren't great across the board. I mean, it would require a little bit more than just Kevin Nash. I understand Hogan would draw money, but you know, I don't know. I don't blame it all on Kevin Nash. I feel like everybody needs a responsibility sometime. And so and speaking of somebody who needs responsibility, to quote the great Eric Bischoff, Kevin Dunn, what the hell was that? So right as they're in the middle of the ring, Bam Bam's come in, LT's come in, and all of us, you know, we're getting ready. They're about to get face to face with each other, but they haven't quite got that yet. And all of a sudden, the camera for like 2 seconds shows they cut to a camera that was not white balanced. So it looked like Bam Bam and Lawrence Taylor were in sepia tone. And it was only 2 seconds, and they cut it back. And what's a further question is, why didn't they edit that out after all the years of this footage being around? Why didn't they just not edit that shot out? I understand one take, but they could have easily, they had footage. They record every piece of footage from all the shows that they've ever recorded. I guarantee you that somewhere in the vault, they could have edited that 2 second shot out. But Kevin Dunn's mistakes will go on in infamy. So you cannot see the erasure of shoddy craftsmanship across the soundboard and the camera board and the entire board that Kevin Dunn happens to run out in the production truck. LT started hot with the slap that got me invested like instantly, and then that flurry of offense that knocked Bam Bam out of the ring, that was great. That got the crowd hot. It got me pepped up because, you know, I was watching the referee trying to get him to shake hands, and then thwam, there he goes. And was that Patterson? I think that was Patterson as the referee. It sure looked like him. If not, it's got to be like his brother or something. I'm pretty sure. And then out of nowhere, Jerry mentions Diesel. He's like, "Oh, I'm in shock, and I blame Diesel," which was a funny line because Jerry was hilarious back then, and it wasn't hard for him. Well, I don't want to say hard for him because I don't want to sound like I know what I'm talking about in that respect, but it was difficult compared to Jerry now. Let's just put it that way. Compared to Jerry now, Bam Bam strikes, every move that Bam Bam did looked like it hurt, between the leg lock and the headbutts. And I mean, Bam Bam was really beating him down, and it looked like he was beating him down. It was absolutely tremendous. And then LT's comeback was good. And then LT, you know, as he's taking Bam Bam's pain, and, you know, he's taking all this punishment, the headbutts and the backdrops and all that. Lawrence Taylor, the only selling he could do is just be face down, head down, and just not moving a whole lot, just like slowly stirring. That was basically his only selling. And it's amazing how LT's selling wasn't great, but Bam Bam's selling was so good. Again, it was like Bam Bam was truly an artist. I mean, I hate to use that phrase, but he was really a tremendous, tremendous talent. It is a shame. It is such a shame that he never won a world title in any respect. You know, I mean, ECW, I suppose, but like, Bam Bam deserved so much more. I have a new appreciation for Bam Bam Bigelow after watching this match. The Enziguri, for God's sakes. There's an... and then LT hits the ropes poorly, and then comes back with like a shoulder tackle. Bam Bam gets out of position, and then LT hits a mega botch. It was supposed to be a power bomb, but he couldn't get Bam Bam up all the way, so he kind of just like threw him and let him go, but still let him take the bump on his back in one hit. It was such a mega botch that it actually was it was still safe. Like, Bam Bam still knew how to take the bump, which was tremendous. but it was rough. And then, and then McMahon is like, "Oh, what a jackknife!" And it's like, "No, Vince, it was not a jackknife. That was nowhere close to a jackknife." I understand because Diesel trained him, that was supposed to be a jackknife, but let me tell you something, folks. That way ain't nothing. It was a whole lot of nothing, is what it was. But Bam Bam is, again, Bam Bam is truly a professional. And then, and then, and then Jerry. So they do a camera shot of Mongo McMichael, which is, I'm sure, how WCW got the idea to wrangle McMichael away from WWE and have him join the Horsemen, which we'll talk about another time. But the camera goes to Mongo, and Jerry Lawler says, oh, I can't even remember the gag now. I feel so bad, but it's basically, like, he probably would, if you asked him what a silver dollar's made out of, I bet he couldn't tell you, or something like that, in a way that Jerry did. I did not do it justice in any way, but it was funny at the time. Jerry was full of great lines in this. There was a great knock on, if you want to see Mongo McMichael get roasted by Jerry the King Lawler, then I recommend watching this match. I can't remember exactly when it is in the match, but it was funny. And then LT wins. Here comes old crotchety pro wrestler Sean, the Colonist here. God, I didn't like this. I didn't think that Lawrence Taylor should have won this match. Because what does Lawrence Taylor... I understand, this is getting smarky on me, but what does Lawrence Taylor have to gain from winning this match? He wins the match, and then DiBiase starts yelling at Bigelow, saying, "Oh, you screwed me, because, I'm so embarrassed." And obviously I understand that was probably leading to a Bam Bam babyface turn, which was the whole point of that shot, but I don't know. To me personally, because Bam Bam had so much more to do and so much more talent to give to the WWE. If anything, I would have had Bam Bam beat him on, like, with a moonsault or something. And, actually beat Lawrence Taylor, but shake his hand at the end. And, like, give Lawrence Taylor the credit for being, for doing the right thing and, and showing did. And then DiBiase can then be upset at Bam Bam, going, "What's with this sportsmanship? He wasn't a part of this. You gave him respect that he didn't deserve." And then Bam Bam would be like, "Listen, he almost beat me, man." Like, and you could go on to something like that in the way that DiBiase and Bam Bam could. But LT, to me, winning, it just fell flat. It just fell flat to me. I didn't care. And then the screen cuts to black with LT on the people's shoulders, on the football players' shoulders. The crowd is, like, going mild, and that was it. And that was the end of WrestleMania. It was just weird. The ending, I didn't care for it. I personally didn't care for it. I would have given that to Bam Bam and keep Jerry Lawler wouldn't have beaten Andy Kaufman. Until they did, what I'm saying? It's like Jerry Lawler would have beaten Andy Kaufman. What am I saying? Jerry Lawler would have beaten Andy Kaufman. He wouldn't even in a 20-minute competitive match. Jerry Lawler would not have lost to Andy Kaufman. No way. And in this one, I don't see the point. I understand that LT is a great athlete and was one of the biggest football players at the time with the Giants, but I just didn't care for it. For the wrestling fan in me did not care for this. The football fan in me was like, all right, cool. But the wrestling fan in me, which is very much more the dominant fandom, it's definitely my number one. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing a smarky-ass podcast. But in any event, this match was fun. It was a fun match. I don't like the ending. I don't like how that ended WrestleMania. I don't like that this main evented WrestleMania either, by the way. It was a ballsy move, but I don't think it really paid off in the long run, especially because you didn't really gain any fans from LT coming in and winning and then going back. You could have had, I don't think it was, it just didn't work for me. The match itself was great. Bam Bam is truly a phenomenal talent. Absolutely phenomenal talent, and deserves to be recognized as one of the best. In one match, he has completely changed the way that I view Bam Bam Bigelow. So, now let's talk about modern wrestling. We've got a WrestleMania 2-day extravaganza, and I'm going to take a drink of water before I talk about this, because this is going to go on for a bit. But because I'm sure some of y'all have been wondering what my opinion has been of them doing these empty arena match shows with no people and no point to most of it. First of all, I feel like this WrestleMania should not be happening. I understand Vince is stubborn as hell, and he wants the show to go on. But if he really wanted the show to go on, wouldn't it make more sense to have the show go on when you can draw the most money? I don't see how this being on the network with no people in a stadium that's not going to have any sound or any fight or any meaning to it, because you're not going to get any of the crowd reactions because you can't. This is going to suck, isn't it? I hate to say it, but this is going to suck. It's not going to feel the same. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel bland, and it's going to be painfully obvious to all of us that this is, that there's no kayfabe involved in this, right? It's going to make it painfully obvious that this is completely contrived BS, and there's no fans. There's no reaction. There's no cheers. There's no boos. There's no nothing. You have nothing to feel emotionally invested in. No matter how good these guys, quote-unquote, acting is supposed to be, no matter how good their facials are. Why the hell are you doing this if you're not getting a reaction? That's the whole point of doing these shows. I don't see the point of this. I think you have to wait and give Raymond James Stadium the show it deserves when this is all over. If that means throwing Mania out for a year, or having a WrestleMania at the end of the year, and then having another WrestleMania, if you could do it in 5 months' time, where you could build Mania to Mania, it's just, I don't know. It just feels so awkward. But what we're getting is 2 shows filmed in. Are they being filmed in 2 locations? They might be filmed in 2 locations. And we're gonna go from the bottom. I am on this CBS article thing, the just that runs down the match card, and I'm gonna talk about all these matches, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen here, because this might not even happen. But this is what the plan as it stands. We've got Otis and Dolph Ziggler. About a beef between these two about Mandy Rose. And Otis has been kind of funny. And Dolph Ziggler is there, like usual. And that's the match. And again, I've said before, I don't watch Raw and SmackDown. I understand like the premise of this feud. It's them fighting over a girl. And Mandy Rose didn't like Otis, even though she kind of let him on. Then went to Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler's like, "Hey, I'm hot," and Otis was like, "Hey, I'm a beefy guy, but I'm still lovable." And then now we're gonna fight about it. So I don't know. When is this gonna go on? When is this gonna fit? I would like to see Otis win, because I feel like they have plans more for Otis. I would like to see the Heavy Machinery, A, get a better gimmick, but B, actually see some tag title victories and things along that. But if you're going to push a young guy who could actually make a show really enticing, and he could add something new to the table, who looks good, who works well, I'd like to see what they do with Otis. So I'm going to hope that they give this to Otis, but I'd really like to have him either have a better name than Otis or have a last name. I don't get this whole thing with just giving first names and then just cutting it off. I'm old. This is old school crotchety. Get my cane. Let's play a deck of cards. I don't care what game. What we play? Poker, Texas Hold'em, something like that. Anyway, that's the old school me talking. I just like last names. It just makes you feel a little better. I don't know. Anyway, then comes Elias and King Corbin. King Corbin. I don't know how much I love his gear. It's fine. It's fine. The fact that they've rolled with this gimmick for this long is impressive. Uh, at least he's been able to do something decent with it. But God bless this dude. This dude has taken some crappy gimmicks from WWE for the long time. They have been giving crap for gimmicks, and I'm hoping that maybe Corbin, they can move a little bit more towards real things, and Corbin can kind of go back to being Baron Corbin. But props to them for keeping King Corbin around for as long. But King Corbin versus Elias, this is one that has Gronk in it for whatever reason, and Gronk was there to the crowd and celebrity of no one, which is the whole point of him being there, which made it weird. Because usually celebrities are there to draw a crowd, but there was no crowd, so it's just like, oh, here's Gronk, and that was it, and it was weird. It was just weird, and now he's like, so I guess Gronk is gonna have to get involved in this to some description. Elias, is he a babyface now? What's do they even care at this point what Elias is? That he just plays a guitar. Good and bad, just whatever. I don't know. I usually only see Elias really either as a heel getting his arse kicked, or no, that's actually it. So maybe that's it. I don't know. Good to see Elias in a match, though. I hope he wins. Oh yeah, I guess I should do predictions or something like that too. Otis. Oh yeah, I said Otis. I'm gonna say I hope Elias, but it might be King Corbin. Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. This is a weird match, and I don't know why this is happening. I guess this is just whatever. Maybe it's to build Aleister Black. Who knows? I like Aleister Black. I like Bobby Lashley. I think this match will probably be fine. But it depends on how much time they get, and it also depends on how much Bobby Lashley cares. Because Bobby Lashley just might not care, because they've kind of ruined Bobby Lashley like they ruined many people who come from other places. And, I mean, this match will probably be better than it looks on paper. I would bet. And it's nice to see Aleister Black actually getting a win here for the first, and actually getting a proper spot on WrestleMania, which I will say the one thing I will give them credit for is they're putting it over 2 days. Thank God. That's going to save me a lot of view time, and I will not feel nearly as burnt out at the end of each show. Oh, actually, I shouldn't say that. I might actually, because it's going to be 2 nights of full-fledged 4-hour pay-per-views. It's like a double header. I don't know if I really am going to like this anymore. Oh boy. Anyway, women's tag titles are up next. Kabuki Warriors versus Bliss and Nikki Cross. So, Asuka and Kairi Sane, I like both of them. I really wish Asuka as a single star. I thought NXT did her right. I thought that WWE actually did her right for a long time. I wouldn't have had her lose to Charlotte, but I don't mind her losing the streak, but I wouldn't have had her lose to Charlotte. And I like Kairi Sane too. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross is really interesting because I didn't expect them to be a team for this long. I didn't expect them to actually work well as a team and stay as a team, but because I thought Alexa Bliss would turn on Nikki after not very long, after a while. But they've kept them as a team, and I honestly like the opposites attract style that they have, and I like Alexa Bliss, and I think Nikki Cross is pretty good. This match will actually probably be pretty good, but I hope beyond hope that this gets some decent time, and actually they are allowed to put in some quality work, but I bet they will be hampered by a crappy finish. And then we have the 6-man ladder match SmackDown Tag Team titles, which is The Miz and John Morrison versus The New Day versus the Usos. This should be great. I mean, this might be a show stealer. And you had me a triple threat tag team ladder match. You could add the tag titles or not. I'm all for this. This is going to be the car crash wrestling one. This should be fun. But there might be parts. But we do not know What's going to happen with this match, though? Because I guess The Miz didn't take part in a taping. And maybe The Miz, I wonder if The Miz is now quarantined. I haven't looked. I have not looked. I don't pay attention to any of that, really. I don't look it up. So maybe this might not happen. We will have to see. Again, WrestleMania is literally tomorrow. And who knows what's going to happen on this show? If we could have in 2 days half of this card change. This is so up in the air. It's ridiculous. Like why Austin Theory is debuting against Angel Garza for the tag titles on Raw against the Street Profits. Why? Again, there's the championship on the show. Here you go. And who knows what's going to happen with the SmackDown tag titles? Maybe they'll have to forfeit it, or they'll just scrap the whole match, and they'll just do New Day and the Usos for whatever. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. And then we have the Intercontinental Championship. Now, these are kind of the matches I wanted to get to. I'm glad we're getting to the headers of this ground. Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan. This match will be terrific if they leave Nakamura out of it and they leave Gulak out of it and they let these two just work. I mean, Gulak and Nakamura could probably do their one little run in and do their thing, but like I want this match to mostly just be Zayn and Daniel Bryan having a quality match, because these two are some of the best wrestlers that WWE has right now, and particularly Daniel Bryan. I'm a huge fan of Daniel Bryan. I like Sami Zayn too, I really do, and the fact that Sami Zayn even has the Intercontinental Championship is great. The fact that he's facing Daniel Bryan, maybe this will actually bring a level of prestige back to this belt that I feel has been missing for some time. The design change did not help that whatsoever. It really didn't. But this match should be a barn burner. This is going to be one of the best matches on the show. Is Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan. We're going to be talking about that match, I bet. I hope, in a good way, when it's all said and done. And another match that should be also quite good, if they have good chemistry, is Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. 4 or 5 years ago, people were salivating at the thought of that match with Owens and Rollins. However, once again, I am not a huge fan of all of these weird groups that they've got these top name talent in. I know they're trying to give them rubs, but I don't like this Messiah thing that Seth Rollins is doing with the sermon, blah, blah, blah. And Kevin Owens just needs new ring gear. I've said this. You probably have not heard this, but I just have never. I always thought Kevin Owens looked like a child playing wrestler when he wore shorts and a cut T-shirt. I just want him to have different ring gear. I don't care about his weight; he looks good. I just want him to wear different gear. Please, Kevin Owens, wear different gear. But I think that this match should also be good, and Murphy's in there in the mix, and hopefully this match, again, hopefully this does not suck as far as having outside of us, and I hope this one isn't marred by a crappy finish, which, knowing Seth Rollins and the kind of stock that Rollins has in WWE, I can't imagine. This might be one of the ones that ends up safe from a hokey finish, and let's hope that remains true, but who knows. Then another match. The Undertaker and AJ Styles. First of all, why is the Undertaker wrestling? Why is the Undertaker wrestling when he's when he's in his 50s? That's in a susceptible range. Why are you putting your body at risk in multiple ways in one, Undertaker? We love you, but this should be great. I don't understand what the Boneyard match is. I'm assuming this is going to be like a Buried Alive. This might just happen on a weird set, which is where I think a lot of these shows are being. They're now going to try to make this into like a cabaret variety show, and it's just going to be weird. I think that's the only reason this is a Boneyard match. They're trying to make lemonade out of lemons, but they're making lemonades out of turnips, and it's just yeah, I don't know. They're making turnip juice. They're not even making lemonade. They're making straight up turnip juice. Chubbyville. Then we have the SmackDown Women's Championship, and we've got a 6-pack. And I'm going to need a six-pack to get through this show, because this is another match. I hate when they do this. I hate, and they do this to the SmackDown Women's Championship all the time. They took what could have been just a regular match, and they made it a big old cluster, because they got nothing for the women. I hate this. I really hate these kinds of things. Listen, I don't mind multi-women matches, but these multi-women elimination matches, or these multi-women matches, always end up botchy. And I'm not talking about the summer sport. I'm talking botchy. And it's none of the women's fault. It's just that they're trying to concentrate on 1,000 different things at once, instead of having a one-on-one where they can focus on what they're doing and actually put forth a quality matchup. Or I don't know. I don't like this. I'm not a big fan of these multi-women elimination matches, and they never do this to the men. You notice they never do this for men's championships. It's only women's when they don't have any ideas, and they've run out of things to think about. Then we have Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, and this is exactly what I mean. This match should be terrific, because Rhea Ripley's great, Charlotte Flair's great, and the fact that Charlotte Flair is fighting for the NXT Women's Championship is a ballsy move, but I take it. That they're trying to get NXT more over on a mainstream audience. I am totally in on this. This match is going to be great. I hope. So long as it's not a crappy finish, and Charlotte, please, do not win with the natural selection. I don't buy that as a threatening finisher. I'm sorry. Use the figure 8. It's what brought you to the dance. It's the only thing that makes you really specially, you're great. I'm not knocking Charlotte Flair, but that was the thing that brought you to the dance. When it comes to finishers, I'm not a big fan of the natural selection. Then, in the same vein, we have Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler. Now, if we didn't have that whole vampire biting thing, let me hold my jugular in place while I drive myself in an ambulance to the hospital. Why do they do this? This sounds so ridiculous. It's comically ridiculous, but it's really not, because this is losing them fans. And now, here we are, Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. Again, should be good. I think Becky Lynch has been losing steam. I think Shayna's only been gaining it. It's time to get Shayna Baszler into that moment and make it happen. Should also be great. Then then we get the Firefly Funhouse match. Again, I have Lawrence Welk stuck in my head as we get Rob Gronkowski is going to be Lawrence Welk. None of you kids even know who Lawrence Welk is. Go on the YouTubes and you look up the Lawrence Welk Show and you find out some classic piece of television. And this is why I need a co-host who is at least 65 years of age. Lawrence Welk Show is great. But I don't want my wrestling to look like the Lawrence Welk Show. And that's all I can see with this. Is it's going to be another variety show. It's going to be a gimmick match. Is The Fiend really going to win this? I hope so. I hope The Fiend wins this, but is The Fiend really going to win this? I don't see it. I don't see them giving John Cena that I don't see him doing that. I hate to say it, but I don't see him doing that. This is going to be weird. And it's going to be kind of meh. Truthfully. It's going to be meh. But and it's not going to be John Cena or Wyatt's fault, because they're both great. It's just going to be the gimmick is going to hurt the quality of match, because this is what they do when they're backed into a corner, and they, instead of saying let's just postpone this like everything else is done, they decide to just keep setting sail and keep trudging on, and you're going to get what you're going to get. And one of the matches that I'm very interested in, one of the match that is truly a draw for me, for sheer fear factor, is the last man standing match between Edge and Randy Orton. Because Edge, I love him, and he looked great at the Rumble, and if he's really in that good a shape, I can't wait to see it. It's going to be a fun match. Edge is obviously terrific. Orton is obviously terrific. When he wants to try, and there's no way that Orton isn't going to do everything in his power to make Edge look like $1 million. I bet this is going to be one of the highlights of the show, I think. On paper, this show doesn't seem like it's good. This show would have been great in Tampa. Let me tell you right now, this show would have been great in Tampa, and they should have kept it in Tampa, and they should have just they shouldn't have hosted it on this weekend. They should have just postponed the show, but still had it in Tampa and still did most of these major storylines. They would have saved themselves a lot of trouble. Maybe they could have thought some of these storylines out a little bit more. Maybe they could have told Vince McMahon to stop doing what he's doing and go fluky the whole thing up. Then we have Goldberg versus, well, we don't know, because Roman Reigns pulled out of the match. The word is, they haven't said anything, but word about town is that it's going to be Braun Strowman. Good for Strowman if he wins. I hope Strowman wins. I hope Strowman isn't fed to Goldberg to keep the title on until something else happens. I want you to think about these things and try to sleep tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because these are the things that might just happen. We might just have Goldberg as world champion for some time. And that's something you're all going to have to come to terms with. Goldberg's another guy who shouldn't be wrestling. Not because he's bad or anything like that. That's not up to me to decide. But Goldberg, I mean, Goldberg was a phenomenon. There's no doubt. And some of his 2003 stuff was actually okay. I actually liked some of his 2003 work. But and some of his stuff with Brock, we kind of talked about it. We talked about it with Josh again on the last podcast. His stuff with Brock Lesnar was pretty good, somewhat. But if it is Braun, please let Braun win. Please just give him his bit. Please just give him his bit. Just finally. And then Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre. Here's all I'm gonna say about this. Have Brock retain. Have Drew get upset about it. Have McIntyre win again in Mania and actually get it, and actually get this belt. You know, you can even have somebody take it off of Lesnar for now, and then Lesnar come back and maybe win it at the Rumble or something like that, and then have McIntyre come and challenge for it. But I don't see them taking it off of Lesnar. I want McIntyre to have his moment, but I want McIntyre to have his true moment. And with no fans in attendance, it's not going to be anything. Unless they sporadically put some people in certain spots away from each other so they can have, some wrestlers get the performance center, if they can have them spaced out and go, woo, just have some sort of crowd reaction. But when he's doing this in front of nobody and the moves it doesn't feel like there's any purpose to doing any of this, because it doesn't make any sense to fight each other in front of nobody unless in a sanctioned match, unless, if you're just alone, you fight each other alone. It doesn't make any sense that you'd have matches with nobody there. This is what I don't understand. It's like this, and to act and behave as if people are in the building is preposterous and makes the whole thing seem like a waste of time. This could Vince, you could have just taken the hit on this one, buddy. You could have just taken the hit on this and then give people what they deserve. And you probably would have drawn twice as well, because people want to see what you've been doing since you've been gone. You've added 6 months of free time to build your storylines. You have so much more to work on, and you could have worked on. But instead, because you can't not do your thing, even in the most extraneous of circumstances, we're going to have a Mania that's going to feel weird, awkward, and downright potentially, not for the quality of matches or any fault of the talent, but for the sheer circumstances of this show, may go down as the worst WrestleMania of all time. And that's going to, and you watch it. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about this. While the matches would have made this one of the best WrestleManias of all time, the circumstances that be will make this one of the worst of all time. And it could have been avoided just by pushing this back a little bit. And that's... and I told you that was going to last a long time. And it really has. And so I'm going to, real quick, because we have a little bit of time, real quick, I'm going to talk about Sheamus, who I am said is not on this card, and I wish was on this card, but I'm actually happier that Sheamus is just chilling, doing his thing and is staying healthy. Sheamus, I first saw Sheamus in 2009 when he debuted, I think I want to say he was in ECW to start, because he had a feud with Goldust that was actually very good. If you'd like it, I thought that he and Goldust had a tremendous chemistry together. And for what Sheamus was at the time versus what he was going to become, he really was a tremendous looking talent. He had all the build, he had the skills. I mean, the great white paler and pale, but it made him stick out. It made him look different. I think he was pushed before he was ready. I don't think he should have been world champion that quickly. I think he should have beat John Cena for the belt at some point, but I don't think in the way he beat him as something of a fluke champion and then was proven to be a fluke champion. I didn't think that he deserved that. I thought that he had much better, I would have rather him not won the belt and just had him built up with the feuds with like Triple H, which was also very good and was good Sheamus work. His work with Orton was pretty good recently. Well, not recently. That could have been 4 or 5 years ago. And then, anyway, Sheamus winning the Rumble was good. I thought that was a good win. His win over Daniel Bryan was so controversial. If they had a really good match, that would have been one thing. But they went for shock value and boy, did they not calculate on how angry the fans would get at that moment. Wasn't Sheamus' fault. It was a booking decision, but Sheamus kind of took the blow on that because his title, it just didn't feel as good. The title run had less of a sting to it because of the way that he won it. Again, Sheamus was always marred on the way that he won the title. Every time he won the title, between the table thing with Cena, the World Heavyweight title with Daniel Bryan, and then the cashing in the Money in the Bank with Rollins, with Roman Reigns, when people didn't want Roman Reigns as the world champion, and then Sheamus came and kicked him, and then everyone didn't really want Sheamus as the world champion either, so they're like, eh, and nobody gave her that much of a care. But Sheamus deserved better than that, because I thought that Sheamus always put in quality work, as evidenced by his tag with Cesaro, which the Bar was one of the best thrown together tag teams in history. And what he did as far as the best of 7 to prelude that and the start of that, the League of Nations was kind of crappy. I won't lie, because all the bits were on, it was really cliche, and it didn't serve a purpose except to put Steve Austin over, which at WrestleMania, speaking of Manias, Sheamus to me has always deserved better respect for what he's done. I wish that his booking had not marred his world title reigns. Otherwise, I feel like he would have been held in better regard now than he is, I think. And maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe people do actually respect Sheamus. I certainly do. I always liked what Sheamus had going for him. He had a good look. He worked well. He really knew what he knows what he's doing. He knows how to get the crowd up. He knows how to get heat. He really is a great talent. And I'm sad he's not on the card, but I'm also happy he's safe. And I know he's no spring chicken as far as the wrestling business is concerned, at least, but what do I know? But God, I would love to see Sheamus keep going for another 5 or 7 years if he could. Sheamus, to me, I wouldn't even mind seeing one more world title win from him, so long as he won it in a respectable and quality way and didn't win it under these ridiculous circumstances. I want Sheamus to win a clean World Heavyweight Championship. Is that too much to ask? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But we're out of time. So with that said, we have to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have a brand new podcast, week 2 of April, where we are going to talk about many things, but what we're not going to talk about is WrestleMania, because if you want to know my opinion on WrestleMania, the review of WrestleMania will be on Totally Awesome Gaming's channel, the TAW, the Totally Awesome podcast, where he and I have been reviewing pay-per-views for some time. So he and I are going to be doing that on his channel, but as always, there will be a link in the description on the next Core Marshall podcast, so you will be able to hear my thoughts and comments on what's going on there. We're going to have a brand new match of the week. We're going to give you an update on my wrestling deep dive and a couple matches that I would recommend watching. And we're also going to talk about the differences between sports entertainment and pro wrestling, and what I view to be the good things of both and the bad things of both. So you're going to have to stay tuned, but until then, thank you very much for listening. We will be right back after a word